jamming it with Paint Your Body. I'm spraying a Kia Forte here. This is, I think it's a 2017 or 2018, but it's Aurora Black Pearl, paint code ABP. We're doing the front end on this, so the entire nose and then blending into the doors. So this has a brand new front bumper, brand new hood. So the video's a few weeks old. I just had a chance to load it up and edit it and narrate it. So I'm going to kind of see where we're at with this. But we got a new bumper, new hood, at least one new fender. I think maybe two, but either way. So right now we're throwing on the sealer. This is a value shade 7 since this is black. So I'm going to spray down this sealer. I sped it up just to get through this a little quicker. You could see how I'm spraying this anyways. I think I'm slowing it down after a little bit here just to kind of show the pace I'm going. Real quick, there was a little primer spot on the hood. That was a brand new hood, but sometimes these parts come in from the dealer or even if you're getting aftermarket parts. But in this case, this is a brand new hood from the factory. And there was a little bit of damage, and by that I mean there was a little dent or a couple little dents on the edge there. So, you know, you could send the part back. Sometimes it's just quicker to repair it in-house and put some primer on it and continue on with the job. So the body guy took care of that for me, put it in primer, and then got the car prepped up. So this bumper from the factory comes with the factory primer on it. So I believe that was red Scotch brighted by hand. The new panels, the fenders, which see in the video again real quick, they were both brand new. So the fenders and the hood were prepped with 320 grit on the DA sander, followed up with a red Scotch Brite to Scotch Brite and scuff up the edges to make sure I'm getting you know, a good scratch in there for adhesion. It's really important to get all the edges, especially when you're prepping, but right now with the painting, usually if there's going to be a spot with little or no coverage, it'll be on the edge of the bumper or, you know, on one of the edges where it's hard to tell just by at a glance if it's covered or not. It might look like you got paint on it or coverage. Second you pull that car out or you put the part on or it gets into the sunlight, and you can see your primer or your sealer through it, that's not a good feeling to have. And two, you're going to have to go back and fix that, which is just going to take longer. So focusing on getting your edges covered is very important to avoid your job looking as if it has been repainted or painted, and just to keep it looking from as if somebody did the job that didn't have the experience or the knowledge to, you know, pay attention to something like that. It's just a simple detail, but that's one of the big things. Just cover your edges. Make sure you're getting your 2, 3, 4 coats, whatever you got to do on it. Make sure you get your coverage. So I'm also blending up the pillar on this car. The color was pretty good, but I tend to like to do that. It's just one little extra step to help make it look better. I know that, I guess according to the book, or technically speaking, you shouldn't blend black. But with the products we're using, the blends have been holding out really well. I've been doing it this way for years. It's just another extra step I like to take to make sure that the color matches. It would look really weird to pull the car out and, the hood, the fenders, the bumper, everything matches, but the pillar doesn't match to the fender. To me, I don't think that would look good. So it's just a little thing that I like to do to enhance the appearance of the job. So again, I'm speeding this up just for the sake of time and to keep this from being too long-winded. I really didn't let any time go by in between coats, but I used a faster reducer. There's warmer temperatures, and between coats was enough time that this had flashed off really well. Looking over it, I didn't see the need to tack it off as I was spraying. Looking at it, there's nothing really weird landing on it, nothing going on. After that second coat, I did tack it off. You do get, the overspray on the blend areas of the panel that where it kind of just settles, where I'm not putting a full coat on. So, you want to go and tack that off to with the tack cloth. Press lightly, don't dig in with it or push too hard, but you want to get that stuff off. So the metallic or the overspray or the pearl, you don't want to leave that on there. It's going to show after you clear coat it if you don't get that off, and it's just going to be obvious that some paint work was done on that car at some point. So make sure you're tacking that off and you're thorough with it. Plus it helps with dirt nibs and getting any other dust or anything off the panel. Since this is a black pearl, you still have to do the blend just as if it were a silver or any other color. You might not have to be quite as fussy with it. It's a little bit easier because it's not as noticeable. But you still want to blend that out, and be mindful of it, just so that it doesn't leave that defined break in the paint where you stop blending. So, blend it out the same way that you normally would with a silver, gold, or any other color. And it's hammer time. We're clearing now. Same thing, sped this up a little to get through this just to show. But I'm going to give it a little bit, let you guys just watch, and I'm going to stop talking for a little bit. Alright, so on this job, because this is a black pearl, and the difference with putting the clear all the way to the edge of the panel on a color like this won't really be noticeable. Whereas on silvers and a lot of other colors, I'll take my first coat of clear and stop about 2-3 inches before I get to the edge of that blend panel. And the reason is, and I've explained this in videos before and other videos and whatnot, a lot of times, and depending I guess on the clears you're using, these clear coats are pretty clear. They're pretty good quality clears, the Exalted clear coat that we're using. But the reason is, if you put 2 full or 3 full coats to that edge, you're going to wind up darkening up the color a little bit, or possibly darkening it up a little bit. And that could be just enough to throw off the color by a shade, depending on the clear. Maybe even 2, I'm not sure. But that's just like another detail that, somebody that's been doing this or is aware knows to avoid that. I see people that have plenty of experience that do 2 full coats, 3 full coats to the end of the door, or the blend panel. That's up to you as a painter, or as an individual. You could do whatever you want. That's a little trick and thing that I learned, and something that I've noticed happen in paint jobs that I've done in the past years ago. So I kind of started to avoid running the clear all the way to the edge of that panel until I get to the second coat. Alright, long story short, with that being said, with this color and it being black, really not that big of a deal. And if it does change the color slightly, you're never going to notice it. So in this case, that's why I run 2 coats all the way to the edge. Also, black absorbs all of the sun, the light and everything, so black gets really hot. It takes a beating. I want to make sure I got plenty of clear coat on that panel to make sure I don't end up getting fading or anything like that, down the line. I want this paint job to last. Also, just like with the base coat, you have to focus on getting your edges covered. You want to get your coverage, whether it's sealer, base coat, and clear coat. You want to make sure you get your edges, especially in the wheel wells, where I just did there, up along where the headlight might go. These are areas that the sunlight might not be shining on. You might not even notice it or see it. Maybe the customer won't really be looking in there. But that's not an excuse to have, your sealer, your base coat, and the right amount of clear coat on that. So, it's really important to do that. It helps, protect against corrosion, everything else. It's just, that's the right way to do it, and you want to make sure you're paying attention to that as well. So it's shiny. Quick look at the car outside. The pearl is really standing out with this sunlight. The job came out beautiful, really clean, excellent gloss. This is literally probably 10 to 15 minutes after the bake cycle on the booth. Guys, subscribe. Please keep on watching. Thank you.